Okay, alrighty. So I think we're all looking good. We've got audio, everything else is okay. We're ready to start. So, hello everyone. I'm Tim from Tim's PC, and I build custom PCs to suit anyone's needs or budget. I also live stream my builds and repairs for transparency and educational purposes. So if you'd like an awesome new PC and you'd like to see it get put together live, send me a message today. Alright, so we're back here on a Saturday night, and we're going to be putting together another RTX 4070 Super rig with Ryzen 7800X 3D. So the main call out with this stream is we've got a new case here. This is the Cooler Master Box 520, if I'm remembering the model completely correctly. And I mean, it looks the goods. I've never built in one. The only thing I can notice straight away is it doesn't have an RGB fan there on the back, which is a little bit misleading, because I swear there was a photo with it with 4. No, it's not. Okay, interesting. Oh, it doesn't make any difference. But we'll have a look at the Master Box 520 in a bit more detail when we get to it. So, other than that, we'll go through the specs of the PC here tonight, and we'll go ahead and start building it. So we've got the Ryzen 7 7800X 3D, the #1 gaming CPU in the world right now. Even outperforms the new Ryzen 9000 series in terms of gaming performance. So this is still the king, even though it's Ryzen 7000 and we're on to Ryzen 9000. We've got an MSI Pro B650M-A Wi-Fi motherboard. This is an excellent board. It's basically the Ryzen 7000/AM5 socket equivalent of the B550M Pro VDH Wi-Fi, only this one's probably got probably even better in terms of its features and all that. We got a 2TB Crucial P3 NVMe SSD. We've got a 6400 MHz CL32 kit of RAM here. So this is, what is this? This is the Silicon Power Storm RGB. And we got a new cooler here as well. So this is the Cooler Master Atmos 360. So I don't know what to expect, but we've got a nice picture of what the block will look like. This will actually be black. There's a photo there that's showing the white version on the block. I'm not sure if you can see down in the corner there. There's a little picture of the black one, which should be what's in the box. As you can see on the side there, there's black printed. We got a Cooler Master 750 watt MWE gold power supply. So this is the ATX 3 standard power supply. It has the 12+4 pin connection straight from the power supply, so we don't have to worry about any of those skanky looking adapter cables or anything like that. I mean, you can make them look, decent, but it's a pain in the ass. If the budget allows, get yourself an ATX 3 power supply. If you get an ATX 3 power supply, I haven't really noticed any cheap and nasty ATX 3 power supplies. Even the cheap ones are like essentially really good. So definitely look at that when you're selecting a power supply. Don't just get the biggest wattage you can get or something like that. Make sure it's ATX 3, or also known as PCIe 5 power standard. It'll just mean that your power supply will be kind of, I hate using this word, future-proofed for a bit longer. Like if you buy a top of the line ATX 3 standard power supply with a 10 approx 5 years time, because a high-end power supply will have a 10-year manufacturer's warranty from factory, so you can expect a 10-year plus life out of a good power supply. And the only thing I haven't mentioned here is the graphics card. It's a PNY RTX 4070 Super. This is the Vetro, I believe they call this one. It doesn't actually... Verto, sorry. Verto. It doesn't actually say it on the box, but on the information label there you can see it. Unfortunately, there wasn't even much on the company's website about this card. There wasn't even many photos of it or anything. If you have a look at the thumbnail for this video, you can see that, you know, I could only find an image of sort of 3 different PNY cards for the thumbnail there. But we've used this card quite a lot. PNY make good graphics cards. I've had very, very low rates of returns on PNY graphics cards. So even if it's a brand that you might not be familiar with, take it from someone who builds lots of PCs and sells lots of graphics cards with those PCs to customers, and I'm responsible for handling people's warranties and stuff like that. I get shitloads more Gigabyte branded graphics cards come back needing a warranty claim than I do PNY. So just consider that when you're buying your new PC or building your own PC. Alright, well, I think I've crapped on enough about the specs of the PC. Let's get stuck right into building it. Oh, we also got a 4TB hard drive here just sitting on my mouse pad. So let's have a look at this motherboard. So we've used this a couple of times. So as you can see, really good board here with these nice direct touch heat sinks there on the MOSFET, VRM and co processors. But I'll point out the rest. I'll go through the features here. So up the top here, we've got 12 pins of CPU power. Not that we really need it, because this bad boy here, the 8-pin connector there, that can deliver 250 watts of juice to the CPU, which in my opinion is far too much juice for a consumer PC. It just makes the thing run hotter. It puts stress on all the rest of the components. So the 2 power connectors there, we'll connect them both, but I don't imagine that our Ryzen 7800X3D is going to go beyond about 180-ish watts typically. I mean, it could potentially go more if you overclocked it, but let's just look at the average person when they're using it. It's probably not going to draw more than about 180 watts, so it gives plenty of headroom there with the 2. Obviously our AM5 socket, we've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fan headers there on this board. We've got 1, 2, 3 RGB headers, 2 12 volt and 1 5 volt, so that's kind of a little bit strange. It's normally the other way around. However, that 5 volt header there, the addressable header, is pretty good at powering up to 10 fans. So, you know, realistically that should be all you need. Got our 24 pin power there for our motherboard. Waiting for this connector to be redesigned, kind of like the 12 plus 4 pin cable on graphics cards, because this connector here is extremely old at this stage. Some of the pins in here aren't even used anymore. They're just kind of there. And if they are used, they're not really necessary. We could hook this up completely differently. But they generally don't like to make big changes to things like this because it makes like every power supply obsolete and stuff. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. We've got 4 slots here for our RAM. So it's 4 slots, but it's only 2 channels. That's the maximum that consumer PCs support. So we've got 4 slots, 2 channels. And, question I get sometimes is like, what is RAM? People don't fully understand what RAM is. And when you plug RAM into your PC, it's the only component other than the CPU that you need to make the system do anything. Basically, stop thinking of the RAM kind of as its own thing. It's kind of an extension of the CPU. The CPU doesn't function without RAM, and your entire computer doesn't do anything unless you have RAM. Won't go into earlier PCs, but modern PCs, they won't do anything unless you've got RAM. So when you load something, whether it's off the internet or whether it's from your hard drive or SSD, when it loads, where does it go when it loads? Load means it's being written or received off the internet, and sorry, I said written, I meant read off the drive or received off the internet. It needs to go somewhere, right? Like you can't just read stuff off the internet and it just it doesn't, it just stays there magically nowhere. It has to go to somewhere, and it goes to the RAM. The reason is the CPU and the RAM kind of joined at the hip. Anything that gets loaded into RAM can be accessed by the CPU almost instantly. It's significantly faster than any SSD or any hard drive that we hook up to it. So essentially what you've got there is not something that gives you power to your PC. What it does is gives you capacity to do more things at once, because you can load more stuff into RAM, and the CPU can access all of that stuff instantly. This is why when you open up a game, say you load up Fortnite or whatever, and while it's loading, it's stuck on that loading screen, and then as soon as it's loaded, you can run around the game, you can change weapons, you can do all sorts of stuff, and the response is instant. As soon as you want to do something, it's there. That's because when the game loads, it loads to RAM, and once it's in RAM, the graphics card and the CPU can make use of all that data in the RAM basically instantly. So once it loads, then it's just like loading any app until it opens properly. You might get some like non-responsiveness from the app, but as soon as it loads completely, everything will be sort of snappy for you, because once it's loaded and it's in RAM, then your CPU can access it. So hopefully that makes sense. A little bit of a sidetrack there for anyone who's wondering what RAM is and what it does in the computer, because people know it's important, but they don't really understand what it is. So getting back to the board here, USB-C, 4 SATA ports, USB 3, 2 USB 2s there on the bottom. What have we got here? We've got a COM port header. We've got obviously our audio. Got a couple of other headers there, clear CMOS and debug. But these are legacy. A lot of this stuff is legacy headers that most people don't use anymore. We've got 2 X16 length slots there. However, the bottom one there is just an X4, so it's only connected up to where my fingernail is there, whereas this one here under the label, this one is connected all the way along, and so this is obviously where we put our graphics card in. We got 2 M2 slots there. And then realistically around the back here is the main improvement from the B550M Pro VDH Wi-Fi. Basically this board's grandfather. Instead of having just 6 USB ports, it used to have 4 USB 2s and only 2 USB 3s. Now they're all USB 3.2 with 4 of them being the adjustable power slots there. We've got a HDMI and a display port on there, but we won't want to use them because that uses the onboard graphics there. We've got Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.1 and our front panel audio. Sorry, not our front panel audio, our rear audio jacks. That's our front panel audio header down there. Alright, so I think I've covered the bulk of what this board is and what it can do. So let's get stuck into putting the components on. So starting with our RAM. So it sounds like it's pretty quiet tonight. No one's watching. It is a bit of a shitty time of year for this in terms of Australia. That's okay. I know how to just talk to myself and ramble on with shit to make a live stream like somewhat interesting. At least I try really hard. But I mean, essentially this started just to be able to engage the customer and show them the PC that they've bought and make them understand the components and, you know, get the experience of almost building it themselves just by watching the live stream. Sometimes building it yourself can be, you know, a little bit of a pain in the ass. As soon as something goes wrong, if you don't have spare parts to swap out, then, you know, you might be up shit creek. Oh. So I'm going to use the bottom slot here, and the reason why is just so the top slot's easily accessible, and then it just means that the customer can go ahead and install another M2 drive without taking out the graphics card. And because we've got a Crucial P3 here, it's a very cool, calm and collected SSD, and it won't be a problem installing it without a heatsink underneath our graphics card. So that's where that can sit. Alright, well there's the main 3 components. Now we need to do the cooler. So, who's ready to check out this new cooler? I'm ready to check out this new cooler. Cooler Master Atmos. Ooh. Look at that. How fancy is that for packaging? Intel, AMD. You don't even have to sort through it. So we need accessory, we need AMD, and we don't need Intel. I'll just chuck that kit there as a spare, just in case someone comes in with this cooler and wants to change to another brand and they don't have all the right parts. Bloody hell. Oh, pre-installed fans. Look at that. How fancy is that? I don't even have to do anything. Pre-installed fans. Look at that. Yeah.
My topmost NVMe slot is a 1x M2 2280 PCIe 5.0. In the slot under the GPU is a 1x M2 2880 PCIe 4.0. Would it be fine to install Gen 4 NVMe when we get one to use as a boot drive in the bottom slot? So I don't need to take out my CPU cooler and GPU put it in.
Yeah, I mean, there's no issue with it. Just watch out with PCIe 3 and 4 drives. So not Gen 3, Gen 4 and Gen 5 drives. Just watch out for them. So PCIe 4 and PCIe 5, they get really, really hot. So I wouldn't necessarily want one, you know, naked under my high-powered graphics card. If it was PCIe 4. If it had a heatsink on it, then yeah, it should be fine for most of them. But in general, this is a PCIe 3 drive or a Gen 3 drive, and they stay very cool, calm, and collected. And that's realistically what you should be using for like a drive to store all your games on, because in terms of how long it takes your game to load, that's all you get from SSD. It doesn't give you high performance games or anything. It's just how quick something loads. There's hardly any difference loading a game from a Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5 drive. The main thing that people notice a slight couple of seconds here and there difference is for boot times for Windows. But in terms of game load times, you know, if something takes 30 seconds to load off a Gen 3 drive, it'll take like 28 seconds to load off a Gen 4 drive and 27 seconds on a Gen 5 drive, you know, give or take. And it's not necessarily worth it to spend hundreds of dollars more to get very little extra. So, and yeah, the big thing is that the Gen 3 drive will run cooler, won't cause any problems, and probably have a longer life than the Gen 5 or the Gen 4. Alright, so we got a pretty standard looking controller here. It's got 3 RGB there, and we got a power cable here, and oh, okay. So this is no, nothing's wrong. I'm just trying to make sense of this cable. I have a 5-volt RGB from the motherboard to 5 other devices. So we've got 4 devices here on the. So we got the block and the 3 fans basically, but the cable's for 5. I'm like looking at this. I'm like, is that definitely for that? Because we've also, like, we got this controller here, What have we got for that? A USB 2. I mean, we can use that. I mean, we could potentially hook everything up. We've got a Cooler Master case. Let's just hook. Why don't we hook it up with the with Cool Master app? Let's do something different. We'll see how their software progresses, and if not, we can just revert it to the motherboard, provided we don't like something about it. We'll give Cooler Master a go. How's that? So USB 2 and starter power. We got 3 5-volt ports there, so no dramas. So a nice tube of thermal compound there, although there's not really very much in that tube. See the thick part of the syringe there? That's all that there is in this end. They've just put a bit of paper around it so you don't see just how little there is actually in that. 4 bracket screws, that looks like what we need. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no. The top slot there that might be marked as PCIe 5, that is actually a multifunctional slot. It will adapt to PCIe 3 or 4. So you don't have to worry about that. There was freaking Intel 11th gen chips had this fucking thing where some of the boards were PCIe 4, but not all of the CPUs supported PCIe 4. And then what it meant was there was boards being sold that essentially had a non-functional slot. Hang on. That didn't screw in properly. What's going on here? Oh, I see. Okay. So they don't just screw on the bottom normally. So I'll show you this just quickly. These actually slide in like that. So they don't screw in like that. They slide in place like that, and then you screw them in. Just to be complicated. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
This is a customer's PC, so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I don't have any set configurations. But the thing is, obviously I'm not going to like recommend an ITX PC to people, you know, who aren't really looking for a small form factor PC, because if not, they're going to spend hundreds of dollars extra to get the ITX PC. So I can't, within my right mind, kind of suggest that to people. Hey, Dead Man, how you going? Good to have you with us here. So we got a bit of stormy weather here in southeast Queensland right now. There is a nice little I say little east coast low that's affecting the region right now. So if you're not from the east coast of Australia and also a bit of a weather nerd, you probably not even not even sure what I'm talking about when I say east coast low. Basically, this is when a lot of rain and wind hits us here on the east coast. Not like just a storm, like like shit blowing in from the ocean that with high winds. That's basically the best way to explain what an East Coast low is to someone who doesn't know what an East Coast low is, without getting into all of the meteorological things. Basically, it's an East Coast low is what we call a cyclone when it forms like lower down than the tropics. Okay. Oh, what's up?
So this would be around the same price list, though, considering the price of an AO cooler gigantic case.
No, not really. So you're gonna have to spend hundreds of dollars more on the motherboard, and then
Specific.
you're gonna still need an AIO cooler for most CPUs, especially for a Ryzen 7800X 3D. It's not like, yeah, you need a small form factor power supply as well. They cost more. It's not, like I said, it's not the kind of thing that I'll ever recommend to someone who doesn't, um, wants a suggestion. But it's definitely something that someone can get if they ask for it.
Oh, cat.
Yeah, if you want a decent ITX motherboard, they're sort of hard to come by, and yeah, they're very expensive. Plus, ITX cases, like, they're generally not any cheaper than normal cases. This is a under 100 Aussie dollar case right here. You can't even. There's like one or two cases that are ITX that are under $100. So yeah, believe me when I say once you sort of put it all together, it's it's extra expense, and it's more complicated to work on. The drivers and chance of incompatibility is higher, just because the boards aren't as popular as other ones. So there's other like flow on reasons why, as a business, I don't like just suggest these to people unless they go, hey, I want a small form factor build for whatever reason. So it's not me hating on ITX builds or anything like that, so don't get the wrong idea. It's just what I'd recommend to people professionally.
They say I really do think that it would be equal or less to what you're currently building, but I appreciate the care the average first-time builder.
Dude, look, if you wanna go and send me a list of the same components but in a mini ITX case that actually supports a 7800X 3D CPU properly with a proper cooler, not some little low profile thing, then yeah, absolutely. Send it through and we can... What?
They say the simpler it is for a new user, the better, and it looks like you're looking out for them.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, dude, trust me, I don't know if maybe you're somewhere else in the world where, you know, ITX parts are cheaper and stuff like that. But in Australia, if you want to have a look at Australian retailers and prices, feel free, go and look it up, go and check out the specs of this build and go and price it out and swap everything out for an ITX build. Send me the list and the total of the price, and I guarantee what we've got here will be cheaper. You got to get the equivalent though. Like, you know, if you want a good size cooler, you need to buy a case that's got, you know, that's got the actual it's got the ability to support like a proper size cooler and stuff, because you don't want to put a 7800X 3D in a tiny little box with a 4070 Super and 2 fans. That's that's not the way to go, man. Like, do you want this noisy little box that sounds like a jet engine sitting next to your PC while you're gaming? I don't think so. Anyway, so this is basically how it's going to look in the case. Yeah, so if you're in USA, that might explain why we're not seeing eye to eye on this. So the situation is in Australia. Yeah, so the situation in Australia is the fact that what the retailers and wholesalers decide to import here, because that essentially decides what the prices are for various components. Now, if you go onto Aussie sites and go and have a look at B650 chipset mini ITX boards, you'll find them few and far between and very, very expensive compared to this board. You know, you could easily expect to spend at least $200 extra on an ITX motherboard. And then to get a case that supports even a 240mm radiator, they're nearly twice as expensive as this case. Because just because this is a big case doesn't mean it's cheap. You've got economies of scale factors that work in here. Lots of people buy a tower that looks like this, so they can produce thousands or, you know, millions of them, and that brings the costs down and stuff like that. Whereas the ITX ones, they're a special order. They only make a tiny amount of them, so they're generally more expensive. Have a look at, you know, a classic example is the Lian Li D11 Mini. It's like $50 Australian cheaper than a regular full-size Lian Li, but then you also have to buy a small form factor power supply, which are typically twice the price of a regular power supply as well. And, you know, any, like the small amount of money that you save on the D11 Mini versus the full-size D11, it's completely offset by the fact that you need that small form factor power supply. Like, let's be real. And unfortunately, that's the situation right now. So if you're in Australia and you want a mini RTX PC, be prepared to spend extra for for the fact that you've got it in a small form factor. Because these cases here, these big ones that get imported in bigger numbers, they're cheaper. So, like, I can't even think off the top of my head of a decent mini ITX case that's cheaper than $100, which is what this case cost. And if it is cheaper than $100, it'll be like one of those little, like, cubish looking ones. You can't fit an AIO cooler. It only supports 2 fans. You can only fit, like, relatively small air coolers on it. It's so that pretty much rules out the 7800X 3D being installed in something like that. And then all the ones that are, you know, actually decent, yeah, they're significantly more expensive. So Lian Li have them from about 160 Aussie dollars up, but yeah, like I said, it's different. Like you guys in USA will have a lot more stuff imported, and so it ends up being cheaper due to economies of scale and stuff like that. But the problem is that fundamentally, at the manufacturer, it's generally going to cost. They're generally going to sell the mini ITX more than what they sell the regular ones to. In America, you're probably finding a case of retailers sort of homogenizing their prices on the cases, so that they sell as many ITX PCs as they want, but they'll just put that extra cost onto their full-size cases. It's just a simple business pricing model that a lot of companies do. So, all right, let's have a look at this case. Alright, so around the front there with no parts in it, it's not very exciting. It's around the back here. What do we get around the back? So we've got 3 ARGB fans there. We've got an included ARGB controller. We have DC fans there, which is the 3-pin header there. Okay, so we've got, oh yeah, we got these bad boys. Because we need a hard drive. Yeah. Yeah, no worries, man. It's really one of those weird things. You could call it the Australia tax, I guess. That sounds legit enough for me. The Australia tax. Yeah, it sounds about fucking right. Hey man, how you going? Good to have you with us. Yes. Yeah, no, we well, put it this way, most people in Australia have no problems with the United States. But there are always those people who are basically anti-Western types, and they kind of like hate everything about, you know, Australia, America, all that. everyone overseas, we're all just worried that if Trump gets elected, he'll just let Putin take over Europe because he seems to love Putin. Every time he talks about him, his face lights up and shit.
He just wants to be Russian.
Yeah. You know, it's not just America. What happens in America affects the whole world. The rest of the world, we don't want like leaders who are soft on Putin, who think he's a good guy and shit like that. We don't want any of that. America's NATO allies don't want any of that. And everyone else, like Australia, we don't want that either. Putin is a dictator. A war criminal. Oh, damn it. Put these stupid things on the wrong way. Sorry about that. It's the problem when you talk while you do stuff. Really? These are one way. They only go that way. That's fucking weird. Can I mount these without using those? No. Alright, so what am I bitching about? So these arms, to make it slot in the tray, have it slot in with this at the back. So I have to like plug in the cables for that and then insert it. It's just a little bit weird, right? Ah, yes, yes.
We need love and peace. It's almost 6 a.m. here, so I need to be on my way. Take care.
No worries, man. Have a good one. But yeah, it's under 6 weeks until we're going to know who's going to be the President of the United States. Okay, well I can't really install the drive just yet. I'll plug in a SATA cable there. The other one comes from the power supply. And that is next. How are we going for time? Just under an hour. I've been crapping on with stuff, so let's see if we can speed things up in the second half. No. No. Yes. 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 Do you want to download the all the drivers and stuff for this? Just go to the website, just download everything. Alright, so those 3 cables there power our 12 plus 4 pin cable there. We can put out up to 600 watts, though I don't think anyone really wants to run 600 watts through their graphics card, but anyway. I mean, the way that it's going now, we're going to have fucking kilowatt cards by 2030, which I think is ridiculous, but hey. What do I know? I'm just a tech. I'm not an engineer. I just work with the things that engineers build. What the fuck do I know? Hey? But if you want to know what someone who doesn't know thinks, I think that they need to spend more time optimizing the hardware that they currently have, instead of just trying to run more power through it to fucking achieve the results. It sounds, to me, it sounds like it's lazy, like laziness, you know? Yeah, like they could go and do the hard work and optimize things and get things running more energy efficiently. But it's easier just to run more power through it. Who gives a fuck? And I mean, I know in Southeast Asia and in other places around the world where people don't have as much disposable income, yeah, the energy consumption of the gaming PC and stuff is very important. Okay. Oh, yep. Cool. Alright, so we need to move these offsets around. The case is a full-size ATX case, and we are only installing a micro ATX board. So we were talking to one of the viewers before about mini ITX builds, and so you got like super small form factor motherboards, smaller than the one that we're putting in, even though it's called micro ATX. The other one's called a mini ITX, but it doesn't matter if you put a small board in a big case because the screw holes are the same basically. So the mini ITX has 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's it there. Just those 4 screws. The motherboard's basically force that center square there. And then you've got a micro ATX board, which uses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then you've got full-size ATX, which uses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and doesn't use either of these screw holes here because these are just for different size micro ATX boards. But our one here is a standard size micro ATX board, so it uses the standard 8 offsets, I should say.
What was that? What were you doing? What did you do?
Did she do something naughty? Did she chase the cat?
Yeah, and she knocked stuff in the bedroom. I think the cat jumped on the bed and she chased him.
So the dog was chasing the cat. See, the dog just sees the cat as just another member of the pack. She'd never hurt the cat. Like, the cat's been there the whole time that she's been alive. So she knows the cat. In fact, when the cat got out one day and we didn't know where he was, she was walking around the house all sad and pouty and stuff because she didn't know where the cat was. So I mean, she loves the cat. She'd never hurt the cat, but when she tries to play with the cat doesn't understand. It doesn't interpret it as play and starts to freak out and like runs away. But the dog just wants to play. She's just she's a child. Just screwing the radiator into the top of the case here. The fans that are pre-installed on the radiator, they're in the exhaust position. So we've got 3 fans on the front drawing in cool air, and you've got 4 fans pushing air out. However, 3 of those fans are pushing through the radiator, so the amount of airflow is slightly constricted there. And that's balanced out by this fan at the back there. So it's basically, you can consider it as 3 in, 3 out. And so that's ideal, because like if we had a really small cheap ITX case, we could probably only fit 2 fans. And compared to, 6 fans, 2 fans have to work 3 times as hard to move the same amount of air through the system. So that's another thing to consider too when buying an ITX case. There are plenty of really good ones that you can get, but they are more expensive. Alright. And so that's how it's going to be in the case there. Looks pretty tidy. The rest of these cables and stuff, we'll be able to route these relatively discreetly. I didn't think this would be a problem.
Never assume.
I know, right? I really should have plugged this in before I did the radiator, eh? It's too tight. I got one in. Thought I'd have just enough room to do this, but apparently not. It is always advisable to sort of plug these in first. And what do you know, it just plugs straight in just like that.
So it's in Japan, PNY, that's 47 is the lowest price, and I bought it. And I thought it easily gets over 70C when playing heavy games, but when I set the power limit to 70%, stops at 70C.
Yep. You can also try just tuning your fan curve. That can generally get them to run a little bit cooler. But as long as it's under 80C, it should be completely fine. Don't worry too much. I mean, it sounds like 70 degrees sounds hot to us as humans, but it's okay for the graphics card in terms of the GPU temperature. Okay. Is this magnetic? Sure is. Okay. Okay, so because we're going to test Cooler Master's software here, we're going to run this controller through this one. And I guess we'll just use this. I mean, it's a little bit cable intensive, but that's okay. Yeah, I do it for all graphics cards that I install, because I'm pretty confident that, you know, they would like people's graphics cards to overheat. Now I swear I got splitter for the rest of the fans. I mean, I'm sure it's there. I mean, I'm sure I can find something else. What have we got here in the fan cable spares? What's that? A jewel. this will do nicely. A PWM splitter. Want to split it? There's a really funny episode of Family Guy where, even if you don't watch Family Guy, you know the main character, Peter, the big fat guy. He's like obese and food obsessed and stuff like that, and he's like at his like lawyer or accountant's offer or something like that, and he's like getting told important information, but Peter's an idiot, so he's just like off in his own little world thinking about things. And yeah, what he was thinking about was he was looking at the stapler, and he goes, "You gonna eat that stapler?" And the guy looks at him, he goes, "You can't eat her." And then Peter interrupts, "Wanna split it?" That's one of those lines that always gets stuck in my head. I always think about it. Wanna split it? Sometimes the dog looks at me like that, you know. Okay. Oh. So this group of cables here is for the fans on our radiator, connected to the splitter, which I ran to the motherboard there. And then these ones here, these are the RGB cables. I think we might be able to avoid using... Where'd that even go? That controller that I had before. Right down here. I think we can avoid using this. This is a lot of cable. Okay, so our controller here, we've got one cable from the secondary controller into port 1. We've got the pump block on the cooler on its own one, and then we've got everything else daisy chained onto the rest of it there. I mean, it can sit. It doesn't even, you know, it doesn't have to be glued down or anything like that. It can sort of sit anywhere in the case there. It's got magnets. So as I always do, I just tie down, you know, these groups of cables and stuff like that. There's no point, you know, manicuring the shit out of your cables back here. I've spoken a lot about this in the past. It just makes it harder to work on when you need to service it. Like, you'll go and spend the time and manicure everything, use all these little anchor points and make it look like a, you know, a work of art. And then as soon as you end up with one of your fans dying and you've got to cut out all those cable ties and pull it all apart. Guaranteed, unless you're a particular sort of person, you're not going to put it all back together after that. And so that's why when I do cable management, it's you know, I don't ever manicure it at the back here. I just keep things organized, essentially. Yeah.
This was my first time entering the world of gaming PCs, but researched them for 2 months and understood the relationship between parts and keyboard performance, so I had no problems.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, it's a lot to, it is a lot to research though. And the problem for the average person is by the time you research it all, it's not like this is knowledge that you can, you know, pass down to your kids or anything like that. It's knowledge that's basically completely obsolete after 6 to 12 months time. You know, keep up to date with all the latest parts and how they perform versus other parts, etc., etc. So it can be, yeah, it can be a right pain in the ass. I build PCs for people who, you know, have pretty high level IT type roles, and they still get me to build them a PC because, you know, just because you're doing IT doesn't mean that you know every single thing about everything like electronic related. Oh man, that's the thing. You do a job like mine, and you know you end up with all of your friends and family thinking that you know everything about everything, and it's like, in IT we only know about the systems that we're trained to use and all that. So there's no such thing as one IT course that you can take that teaches you everything. Now you don't need to worry about any new information because now you know everything. It's just not like that. There was never that course. There was never a course like that, even, you know, back in the 90s or something like that. It was already, there was already too much tech even back then to, you know, properly make sense of everything with just one person alone. This industry is the kind of thing where you ask your peers for help. So you might not know, you might have a problem with a particular model or something like that you don't have much experience with those problems with that product. But then you go and call your colleague and they have extensive experience working with exactly that problem. And then instead of you spending the next, you know, however long trying to research it, instead you'll be able to have your problem solved in half an hour because you've spoken to someone who actually his experience with that particular software or hardware. Okay. Okay. Graphics card time. This is the Cooler Master Masterbox 520. so CPU bottlenecked.
Did you hear all what I said? They built their first PC yesterday with the 7800 XT.
Yeah, so what CPU do you have? Because I mean, like, without trying to sound like a dick, but prove me wrong, but you just said you built your first PC and you're talking about being CPU bottlenecked. So as a skeptic, I would ask you, how do you know, what are you using to determine that your CPU bottlenecked? But first I'd ask what CPU that you've got. Front fans are spinning but with no RGB.
Maybe we needed those.
The ones pre-installed on the fans. Sorry, in the case. The fans on the radiator and stuff is fine. There we go. Okay. Did you get a BIOS?
Yeah, it's on that other.
This SSD?
Yeah.
Okay. Are my screens unplugged? It does look pretty sick.
Can you turn it a little bit so I can see the front? Yeah. Cracked also when we test the temps.
Yeah, yeah, always. I don't stay live for the entire stress test because it goes for 90 minutes. But yeah. But yeah, we do a synthetic stress test just to make sure that it's not overheating. Alright. Don't worry, it won't take several minutes. It'll take several seconds though. What's up?
Control, delete, and to skip. Nice case.
Yes, the Cooler Master Masterbox 520.
It also comes in a mesh front.
Ah, yep. Very Windows XP right here. Look at this menu here. This is just
I like it.
absolutely nostalgic, right?
Windows XP flashback.
Yep, 100%. Okay, so we'll get some stuff installed here.
Data's still golden records. Windows XP 7.
Yeah.
Dean says, don't forget Ubisoft and EA applications.
Hang on, that's really old, the version of this software that I've got. We'll download some new software for that. Alright, so we give that a restart. We got all that software installed.
We're not getting much rain from that storm.
No. But it's
Got no
unstable.
lights.
It's unstable, so anything.
Check out the window though.
Oh fuck. But yeah, anything could happen overnight. yeah, definitely. Definitely. Don't need the drivers for my mouse. Okay. Should be pretty much everything you need. Don't need Intel. Okay, we've set up MSI Afterburner and Reaver Tuner overlay. Alright, so this is just the stuff that we want to see on the screen when we activate the overlay. Alright, here's Cinebench Release 23, or R23 as I call it. Alright, so this one's a local one. Brisbane.
Damn, what a piece of work. SLV subscribe. You always leave that pop-up window that asks you, are you sure you want to execute this file if you're doing that to protect the customer? Probably.
Yeah.
Can't daily dose. Listen, I can't run Roblox.
Yeah.
A potato can run Roblox.
I don't know, man. Maybe not. Maybe not. CSGO might be a bit too much for it as well. Okay. Alright, so let's just make sure everything important has installed. Oh, still don't have that graphics card driver. I thought we downloaded that. I swear I installed it, but apparently not. Actually, it might be sitting like that waiting for a restart. How's everything else looking? So our graphics card's there. XMP's not on. Need to do a BIOS update. Alright, let's see how we go. See how we go running Heaven here. High, no anti-aliasing. And this stuff on the screen, GPU there in green, that's the graphics card. We've got our temperature, usage, clock speed and wattage. We've got our MEM1, which is our VRAM, usage and clock speed. CPU there, we've got our temperature, usage, clock speed, wattage. Our RAM usage. And that number there below RAM, that's how many frames per second it's currently running at. And so just bear in mind the CPU is actually still doing some stuff in Windows in the background while we're running this game, and it's still only sitting there in the 20s for utilization. So that gives you a bit of an idea as to, you know, how decent this CPU is at running games, plus multitasking in the background. What's up?
Our friend from the Netherlands has moved the cooling system to an outdoor shed and put some of the cooling in that shed with massive buckets of water for the radiators submerged in it. The water is flooding the sea.
Oh god, submerged rads. Oh man, you can't get any better heat transfer than that. Yeah, that's the ultimate. That's liquid cooling on both ends. You know what I mean? Me? No, not me. I can't multitask.
It works pretty well this week. The plan is to put a full cover block on the 3072.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, we were talking about that the other night, weren't we? Putting the block on it. See, I always turn the volume down because the benchmarks play music, and then I get copyright striked for playing the music. Yeah. So as you can see, there are no issues with temperatures. Get Cinebench on the CPU and it will get up to 90 degrees. But that's Cinebench. It's a synthetic benchmark designed to put a lot of power through the CPU and get it really hot. It's not really representing how you would normally be using your CPU for gaming. Oh, it went to 824 there for a second, frames per second. Okay, that was heaven there on high with no anti-aliasing. How's everything else going? We're all ready to go. Alright, let's flash a new BIOS. And then we'll run the other two benchmarks and then it's stress test time. Fluffy Mao. Oi, dude, I'm sorry, but you can't sit there. I need to screw these screws back up.
Dean said we'll give you $20 to shut down. Maybe not do that.
Yeah, maybe not. cat was lying in my chair. I just sat on the cat.
Did you just sit on the cat?
Mm-hmm. So it sort of slots in at the bottom there, and then it clips in at the top. And there's just a single screw to hold it in place there. Stepped on a cat. Sat on the cat. I sat on the cat. Was it stuff on that table that they knocked off? Okay. See there, you got differentiation between Intel and AMD XMP profiles. AXMP is for Intel and Expo is for AMD. Alright, man, have a good one. So this is Valley. We run this one on higher settings here, so Ultra, Max Anti-Aliasing. And Valley, even if we ran it on the same settings... Oh, my bad. There we go. So even if we ran Valley on the same settings as Heaven, it would still be a lower frame rate compared to Heaven, just because it's a more demanding benchmark. Oi, babe.
Oh, I can taste that photo.
Yeah, I know. The sausage rolls and party pies aren't any good anymore.
No.
They've taken all the salt out of them, so they taste like shit.
Unless they're the ones that your mum makes. She makes good sausage rolls.
Yeah, that's because she hasn't taken out all the salt. Oh man, I hate how everything is like low salt and shit these days.
Head crab wants to know what memory are you running in this build?
I got Silicon Power, what was it? The Silicon Power Storm 6400 megahertz CL32 DDR5 memory. So pretty decent spec kit. The DIMMs look really nice. You got the Power X, or however you say it, X Power logo that they've had for a while. And this model is like, they call it the Storm RGB. That's what the DIMMs look like on top. But yes, I don't really like going any higher than 6400 megahertz just because of stability issues with both AMD and Intel platforms. yeah, I don't have time to like spend hours with every customer, like going over memory compatibility and stability issues. So there's a limit. There's a limit to what I'll allow, basically, or what I'll suggest, I should say. Because if you really want it, I'll get you whatever you want. I mean, I don't. If a customer wants something, I don't protest. Okay, and the final one we run is superposition. We are 4K optimized. This is also a DX12 benchmark. The others were DX11. Just for anyone who is interested. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, is this having a SPAC? Yeah.
Okay, is it running at the rated speed? I'm looking at building a computer
Yeah, I turned XMP on before, so yeah, 6400 megahertz.
Somebody wants to know, says rather, a lot of stores are not even selling faster than 6,000 because they do not want the headache.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, man. Because people get on there and they don't. It's the enthusiast consumer who doesn't really know too much, just goes, oh, RAM, well, what's the fastest I can get? Oh, DDR5, 8000. Oh, I gotta get that. Yeah, that's kind of the situation I'm in. I don't recommend anyone go more than 6400. I mean, you can get 6400 CL30. That's awesome. What do you need faster for? If you get an X3D CPU, spend your money there. Get some more storage. Don't like piss your money away on RAM that's like less stable and pretty much performs the same in real world situations. So yeah, don't do it to yourself. Let's have a look at this. Scorptech's got DDR5 8000. Doesn't look like Umart's got it. Just for reference.
I did 4066 DDR4 to myself.
Oh no, really? Oh, oh, you poor bastard. uh, yeah, DDR.
Admin says that took some time, but it works.
You got it working, eh? Problem is the CAS latency just jumps right up, so it kind of makes all that speed a little bit pointless. Okay, so that was superposition there at 4K, and that is the end of the night now, so it's time to run our stress test. Okay. $90. Okay, and so we log our temperatures here. Here's our CPU. 76 degrees there. It will get warmer as we run it once the graphics card starts heating up as well. But like I said, I'm not too concerned because I can tell based on how it looks as soon as I start it, I can pretty much tell what it's gonna perform like throughout the benchmark. I've used this CPU quite a lot. I've got a fair few up behind me there on the wall, empty boxes. So the CPU there can get up to 90 degrees, and our graphics card here can get up to 80 degrees on the GPU and up to 100 degrees on the memory and hotspot. And so yeah, if you come over here into Task Manager, you can see we're running the graphics card and CPU at 100% at the same time. We could, if we tried to do a stress test on the memory, it would affect the CPU performance in this benchmark. So if I have any reason to believe there's an issue with memory, I'll run a test on the memory on its own separately to this. But when I run the stress test, it's all about the CPU and the graphics card, because these are two things that put out all the heat. So it's about, you know, making sure it's thermally stable and functioning as expected, because this, what we do here, puts out more heat than just running games and stuff like that. So yeah, our CPU, it's not just 100%, it's 100% on all cores and all threads at the same time. So yeah, happy days. So look, this is the time where we'll throw it over to anyone else in the comments who's got any other final questions or comments for me before I sign off. Now is your chance to speak, or forever hold your peace. Yeah. Yeah, so the clock speed on the CPU will adjust itself. It's not like CPUs back in the day. Now you probably just saw there for a second, it sort of changes based on its current workload, and that's how modern CPUs run. They don't. It's not like you know, back in the day when they ran at like a set clock speed. They don't do that anymore. They sort of go up and down. So if you're gaming, you'll see the 7800X 3D get up 5 gigahertz and above. But that's because it's only working on a few cores at the same time. It's not like it's going hard on all cores and all threads at the same time. So yeah, this is just the nature of CPUs. We could go and force it to run at a higher clock speed, but that means it would just go straight onto thermal throttling territory while we're running this benchmark. And the idea is not to make the CPU thermal throttle. It's just about getting the system to get nice and hot and all warmed up, and at least have a test run. Because I'd hate to give a PC to a customer and then straight away it fails. It's happened before, but I like to think that if I do these tests and get it a bit warm first, hopefully if something's gonna die straight up, we'll notice the problem while we're doing this test. So.
I just want to say thank you. This hope the customer will be a happy gamer for years and that there is no warranty needed.
Yeah, hopefully not. But I mean, the customer's right here in my city, so we don't have any sort of hectic process for the warranty. They don't have to like ship me back a PC or something like that. But I mean, we've got repair partners in Sydney, Melbourne, Hobart, and Perth. So, you know, if you're in any of those cities and you buy a PC from me, you don't even have to send it back. You can just take it into our partner businesses, and they'll sort it all out for you. Because yeah, I mean, most people, if a warranty issue happens, say your motherboard dies, right? Now you're free to send it back to me. That's fine, and I can go and return the motherboard, and if it's out of DOA period, then it goes back to the manufacturer. They repair or replace it, and that process usually takes between 2 to 4 weeks. If you want your PC fixed now, what you can do is you can get, if it's just a motherboard and say or a component no more expensive than that, you might just want to buy a new one and get that installed locally, and then we can ship you back the repaired board, or I can give you a refund for the repaired board. It won't be the same price as what you paid for it, because it's now a repaired board, and I'd be taking it off your hands, and you don't have to sell it. That way you sort of avoid that 2 to 4 week warranty, whatever. They're gonna still take it off you, and they'll be like, right, mate, no worries. 2 to 4 weeks, sometimes up to 6 weeks. We'll let you know when it's back. And you know, you might be in a situation there where you're just like, yeah, I'm just buying another motherboard now because I don't want to be without it for like months. So yeah, basically the same deal is with like when you buy a PC from me. You'll be able to get that work done at a trusted business in your local city, and it saves all the hassle of sending the whole thing back to Queensland. So happy days. But yeah, this customer right here in Brisbane. So if they have any issues, they don't have far to go, and they don't have to deal with anyone other than me. Oh, okay. Yep, we can do that. That will just be the controller at the back. I've hooked the header of the controller onto. Why isn't that working? That's not doing anything, is it?
No. Hmm? Now it's green. Now it's off.
Oh.
What's going on there?
Hang on. Don't mind me, I'm going to actually just stop that briefly. There we go. Well spotted, because I didn't have the Cooler Master software installed. Because remember I said I was hooking it all up through the Cooler Master controller, just to see how their whole thing works, whether their software is buggy or sort of working properly. It's not talking to those front fans correctly. Yeah.
Crystal says that you're watching intently. Looks like an awesome solar PC. I'm really excited. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Bailey, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Okay. Well, since those front three fans don't like playing nicely together with the rest of it, they can just be... Oh, we're shutting down. Okay. Turn it back on. Well spotted, whoever said that. Thank you very much. I don't want to send it off with any issues like that. Let's have a look. We might change the configuration because I don't like how we're having synchronization issues with the lighting. Yeah, it's only they're not syncing properly together. So remember this cable that I was like, do I really have to use this? Yeah, we're gonna have to use it. Unfortunately, the Master Plus app is not fucking not doing its thing properly. Like I said, I'd rather sort this out now before the customer gets it and starts going, how do I sync the lighting?
That's better.
It's got everything.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm really enjoying watching this.
Ah, that's alright. Okay. Alrighty, so pretty disappointed there with the Master Plus app not sort of syncing in with everything else there, but that's okay. Like I said, I wanted to check it out, but if it's not up to standard, then we won't use it. Alright, so now everything's going to be controlled through MSI Center and the Mystic Light app. Okay. Alright, well look, that's where we'll probably leave it. I'm going to reinitialize the stress test to do a 90-minute run, but like I said, I'm not foreseeing any issues. So I'll be able to drop this off to the customer tomorrow. Happy days. So yeah, look, thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video.